There we go. We should be up and running. One would hope. Just give it a few seconds to kick in. I will check the audio to make sure that I'm working. And then we will be up and running. Let's say I'm getting slowly used to these live broadcasts. I'm just waiting to check to make sure that it is in fact working. Who knows? Well, I guess we'll find out. I just don't want to have to say the same stuff twice. It'd be kind of weird if I did. Just move these little chat thing out the window. There we go. I'm just going to check my sound. Right, my sound is working, so I am good. I am good to go. So, hi, welcome to a live broadcast. It's the first of two podcasts I'm going to do today. The second one I'm doing tonight with John Fouts will not be a live one. It will be a pre-recorded one, and we're going to be chatting about Blade Runner. Classic film. Do you know what else is a classic film? Doctor No. Another classic film, Moonraker. Another classic film, Octopussy. Yeah, I said it. Octopussy is a classic movie. So do you know when you check your email alerts and you see stories coming through, and you read them, and you go, most news stories are like, oh, that's kind of cool. Some news stories are like, wow, that's good news. And then other news stories are like, oh my God, can I just go back 20, 30 years and just live in that film world? Well, today was one of those stories. And I got my usual Variety breaking news email. I get loads. I don't know how many I get per day, but I do get quite a lot. And this came up. Look at this. James Bond shocker. Amazon MGM gains creative control of 007 franchise as producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson step back. It's been a few years since we've had a Bond movie in the cinema, No Time to Die being the last one. I like No Time to Die. The ending shocked me. I think the ending shocked a lot of people. I think the ending also angered a lot of people, but then again, anything angers a lot of the internet. So, we're not too fussed about those angry souls. But I was shocked by the ending. And then kind of Bond went quiet. Now, it's not unusual for James Bond to go quiet. Was it a 6-year gap between License to Kill in 89 and then GoldenEye in 95. We've had gaps before. I think that's probably the longest gap though, isn't it? I mean, what was the gap between the last Pierce Brosnan one and Casino Royale? I think that was maybe about 4 or 5 years as well. So we're not unused to that sort of level of time before we get another Bond movie. So I wasn't worried. And then obviously when Daniel Craig bowed out, then we were all, the crazy hype machine for like, who's going to be the next James Bond? Who's going to be that old chestnut comes up again. Same old names get thrown out. Idris Elba, Tom Hardy, Henry Cavill, Tom Holland. And that all starts again. Aaron Taylor-Johnson, I think at one point he was going to be announced. They're going to announce him this week. No, they're not. They're going to announce him. No, they're not. And guess what? They didn't. So the craziness around who's going to be the next James Bond has always been a thing. It's a bit like who's going to be the next Doctor Who, who's going to be the next Batman, who's going to be the next Superman, that type of absolute internet madness that so often is a thing. So we have this gap after No Time to Die. We know that Amazon bought MGM. MGM have a lot of the rights to aspects of the James Bond franchise, but at the core, it was always Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson that held the Bond jewels in their hands, so to speak. And so until those two speak, there's no news. So, Aaron Taylor-Johnson's going to be announced as Bond. Well, until Barbara and Michael say this is the case, I'm not believing it. And a couple of weeks ago, I think it might be maybe within the past month, there were rumblings that Amazon and the Broccolis and Wilson, I'm going to call them the Broccolis. but so Broccoli/Wilson. Let's just call them the Broccolis just to save me a few words. Not that I'm short of words. There was rumblings that Amazon and the Broccolis could not sort of end up on the same page. No shock there. Film companies fall out. Amazon, how have Amazon got this big? It's absolutely insane. I don't know. They could not get on the same page as to where they wanted the Bond franchise and the Bond brand to go. My guess, and it is just a guess, is that Amazon would love to just make lots of James Bond TV shows. And yes, Amazon do make some decent TV shows. Reacher is good. Jack Ryan was good. I haven't seen Alex Cross yet, but that looks pretty good. But it looks samey-samey. And samey-samey's fine if you like samey-samey. I do. I like a certain type of show sometimes. But Reacher ain't Bond. I don't like this new story. It's annoying me. So we've got this. So this headline drops in that Amazon, they've now gained creative control. Now it's not as cut and dried as that headline says, and I will bring in the other part. Not that one. I'm getting all my numbers wrong here. Let's get rid of this one and let's get rid of that one, shall I? So we get this, okay? Now, as this is all from a story in Variety, by the way, so I've sort of screen grabbed the Variety details. So shout out to Alex Rittman for writing this story. You can find the full thing on variety.com. Right, so next one. As per the details of the historic agreement, Amazon MGM Studios, Wilson and Broccoli have formed a new joint venture to house the James Bond IP rights. The three parties, so that's Amazon, MGM, and Michael and Barbara, they will remain co-owners of the iconic franchise, but Amazon MGM will have creative control. So the initial headline is, if we look at the initial one, there we go, step back. So they have stepped back. They have not stepped away. So they are still going to have some sort of a say in what happens to the James Bond IP. But with Amazon MGM having the creative control over it, that pretty much gives Amazon MGM the top power, shall we say. It gives them the negotiating power to go, well, we want a TV show, we want to cast this person, we want to do this as a storyline. Creative control also means that they can choose the directors. So I'm sure all these Christopher Nolan fans will be like wetting themselves going, hey, let Christopher Nolan do a Bond movie. Don't let Christopher Nolan do a Bond movie. I like Christopher Nolan, but I don't want him to do a Bond movie. I don't want him to just, yeah, that's a whole nother topic. No to Christopher Nolan. As much as I like watching a Christopher Nolan film, I'm not really interested in seeing a Chris Nolan Bond. I'm also not interested in seeing a Quentin Tarantino James Bond. I don't know who I would like. I haven't really thought about who I would like to come back and direct a Bond movie. Martin Campbell, I think, has done an amazing job resurrecting Bond. Not once, but twice. He did it with GoldenEye, and he did it with Casino Royale as well. So, yeah. Michael Wilson says, with my Bond crew, I mean, bearing in mind, I don't know what the ages of Wilson and Broccoli are, but they've been around for a long time, so maybe they just want a bit of a breather. Maybe they want a break. I could totally understand that, certainly in this day and age. So Michael said, with my 007 career spanning nearly 60 incredible years, I'm stepping back from producing the James Bond films to focus on art and charitable projects. Now, to me, that means that he's not going to be paying too much attention to Bond because he's going to be doing his charitable projects and his art. So that sounds like he is physically and mentally stepping away from the Bond IP without actually taking his name off the contract. Therefore, Barbara and I agree, it is time for our trusted partner, okay, Amazon MGM Studios, to lead Bond into the future. What does lead Bond into the future mean? I can almost hear the internet just going absolutely crazy over all of this. And when I shared the story on Variety, probably within the past hour, I've seen so many comments. Generally, not too many comments are happy about the Broccoli and Wilson stepping back. For people of a certain age, I mean, a lot of people do love Bond movies, but for people of a certain age, we really love Bond movies because they've always been a part of our lives. My first Bond movie that I saw, I think, was The Spy Who Loved Me in '77. Yeah, I'm aging myself there. I saw it at the cinema. And since then, I've seen pretty much every Bond movie in the theatre. I didn't see No Time to Die. I didn't see Tomorrow Never Dies. But other than that, I have seen every single Bond movie in theatres since The Spy Who Loved Me. And obviously, I've seen them all on DVD and Blu-ray and stuff like that over the years, and I do own them all. For me, Bond is a theatrical experience. Same way Star Wars is, but that's a whole nother topic as well. And so the thought of a James Bond project coming out, but it not going into theaters, just kind of makes me really sad, to be honest. I know it's only a movie, and I don't get paid either way. Whether it goes to streaming or whether it goes to the movie theaters, but there's something really special about Bond movies. I like all the Bond movies. I like some more than others, but I don't think there are any Bond movies where I'm like, well, that sucks. It's terrible. They've ruined it. They've killed it. They've destroyed the franchise. I will always go to bat for Quantum of Solace. A lot of people don't like that one, but if you watch Quantum of Solace straight after you've watched Casino Royale, or within a couple of days, it kind of works. Quantum of Solace is effectively a second part to Casino Royale. It's just if you watch Casino Royale in the cinema and then you waited like a year or 2 years and then you watch Quantum of Solace and you kind of forgotten half of what happened in the previous film. So it doesn't sort of work. So I get why people bash Quantum of Solace a little bit. But also remember, around the time Quantum of Solace was coming out and was being made, there was a Hollywood strike. So they had to get this damn thing finished, and there's a few cracks that do show in Quantum of Solace. But even the least impressive of Bond movies still looks great in a cinema theatre. And the thought of it just going straight to streaming in like an 8-episode thing just doesn't really sit well with me. And no, we don't really know what Amazon are going to do. They may well go, we're going to put it in the cinema, but we know the way these streamers work. Most of them, they want you on their platform. So the next part of this Variety article is a comment from Barbara Broccoli. And Barbara commented, "My life has been dedicated to maintaining and building upon the extraordinary legacy that was handed to Michael and me by our father, producer Cubby Broccoli." Thank you, Albert. Thank you, Barbara and Michael. I've had the honour of working closely with 4 of the tremendously talented actors who have played 007 and thousands of wonderful artists within the industry. With the conclusion of No Time to Die and Michael retiring from the films, so again, that indicates that he is definitely stepping away from that, I feel it is time to focus on my other projects. Now, what are the other projects that Barbara Broccoli has? Maybe it's a bit similar to Michael, where she focuses on the arts and charity projects and stuff like that. But she probably just needs a bit of a breather. I think anybody who goes online and reads up on who's going to be the next Bond, who's going to do this, who's going to do that, the film world is very different nowadays. And the film world from the internet side of things, so the side that I see and the side that you all see, is also very different, and it's not necessarily for the better. I've often very flippantly joked, I don't know why film studios actually bother to make films anymore, because of the sheer crazy chaos that happens online once any bit of news is shared. So, yeah. It makes me sad. Michael retiring from the films. I feel it is time to focus on my other projects. So how do we feel that? I don't know. I was still holding out for Dev Patel being James Bond, even more so after watching Monkey Man recently. I think Dev Patel would be an amazing Bond. But I've never lived in a time where the producers of an IP have relinquished control of a property that has been around. It's like 60 years or something, I think it is. It's a whole bunch of years. And then today, us film fans, I know a lot of people, including Richie Edwards, who are pretty much horrified at this news that Amazon, who at one point were just big on shipping packages, CDs and books through the post to our doors, now have creative control over one of the most beloved film franchises ever. I would say Bond is as beloved as Star Wars and Star Trek and Marvel and all that sort of stuff. But it's I don't know how to process this news. Obviously, there's nothing I could do about it. I will watch with very curious eyes to see what the hell Amazon MGM do to this Bond franchise. But I ain't happy about it. I don't know. Certainly not happy about it at all. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put a headset on. Because the internet's kind of like my therapy. So I just need to talk to somebody. So I'm just going to put my headset on and just have a bit of a rant at whoever. So do drop me a comment. I might try and put a poll in the comments. I'm not quite sure if I can put a poll in there or not, but I will. And it'll pretty much just be, are you happy with this or are you not happy with this? I suspect that the majority of people are not happy with this news. Kind of sucks. I get it. If Barbara and Michael go, you know what, we're tired, we've got other stuff to do. But I don't know. I don't know what the solution would be. The greedy film fan part of us would probably say, well, Barbara and Michael should have just kept going and made films for the next 100 years until we die. But maybe they're just tired. Maybe they've not necessarily had their fill of Bond because it has given them the lives that they have. But maybe they just want a bit of a breather. Maybe they're just happy to hand it over. In the same way George Lucas sold Lucasfilm for $4 billion all those many years ago. And look how that turned out. And yeah, lack of Star Wars movies in the old cinema. I think it's going to be one of those news stories that I just have to process over the coming weeks and months. But I'll be watching with very, very careful attention to see what the hell Amazon are going to do and how long it is before they announce that, hey, we're going to do a 8-part Bond series. We're going to do a young James Bond. We're going to do a spin-off with Moneypenny, and some of those things might be good. They might be. I don't know. I haven't seen them. I haven't read any scripts. Probably don't even have any scripts. So this is all spoken from a very sort of selfish, age-old film fan who grew up watching Bond movies in the cinemas and who feels that a James Bond film is an event. And it is something to look forward to. It is something to get excited about. They've announced who the new Bond is. They've announced, we've got the name of the film. It's going to be called Moonshot or whatever it's going to be called. And this is when it's coming out. Who's going to do the theme song? Slap it on streaming in an 8 or 10 episode show. I ain't getting excited about any of that. So, I don't know. Makes me sad. I suppose the other way to look at it is we've got 20 odd Bond movies that we can watch. So I've already seen one person in some comments saying, right, I'm not going to watch any Bond. Watch it. You got to watch it to decide whether you like it or not. I'm not going to go in pre-hating something. I could go in pre-hating the thought of the news. Am I happy that Amazon, MGM are John Shelton in the chat, James Bond Jr. It might happen, John. It might. They may do a James Bond Jr. where it's high school or I don't know. There's a lot of Bond stuff that hasn't been explored, and I sense that Amazon will be milking that secret agent cow dry and squeezing every bit of milk out of it. And I guess from their point of view, why wouldn't they? But yeah, makes me sad. I don't know. Is John in the chat? Are you happy that MGM now have creative control over Bond? I'm not. So, but then again, they don't care whether I'm happy or not. And I'm not saying they should, because, you know, if I go watch a Bond movie, it's one ticket. If I buy a Bond Blu-ray, if in fact it does come out on Blu-ray, physical media, keep it going, it's one DVD or one Blu-ray. So they're not going to lose a fortune if I fall out with them and stop watching. But just kind of makes me a bit sad, to be honest. So there we go. Who would have thought that I could have that I was going to spend 24 minutes just chatting about how grumpy I was that Barbara and Michael have stepped away. I have a lot of history with the Bond franchise. A lot of the celebrities that John, don't even joke about a James Bond cartoon. Please don't. No, we don't need that. I've met a lot of Bond people over the years. I met Richard Kiel. I met John Glenn, Mariam DeBeau, Madeline Smith, Carolyn Monroe. When they were filming Die Another Day, I was given a tour around Pinewood by a wonderful guy called Neil. And I managed to stick my head in an open door and see them building the ice castle set on the Bond stage. And it's like, I was probably only in there for maybe, 10 seconds or something. But that memory sticks with me, that how cool it was that technically my head has been on the Bond set. My feet weren't, because I didn't go in the room, but I did stick my head in. And then I walked the back lot of Pinewood, and they'd just finished demolishing the North Korean military zone, because some of the towers and stuff were there. And then I went out to lunch with a couple of the sound crew from the Bond movie. I also nearly got run over by Pierce Brosnan's Range Rover. He wasn't driving it, his driver was, but I saw his parking spot and it said Pierce Brosnan. So I was trying to take a picture of it. And then this Range Rover came in to park in said spot, and I jumped out of the way. So that would have been cool. If I'm going to get killed, I want to get killed by James Bond's Range Rover. So that's pretty good. But throughout the years, I have a lot of history of Bond. I'm trying to see if there's anything massively that I can grab just to show you. There is not. It's all buried in my books. I will turn back in a second, I do promise. There we go, there's one. I have this lovely book, For My Eyes Only, signed by John Glenn. Look, that lovely little signature there that John did for me. So there we go, I'll do it that way. Look at that, how nice is that? So I do have a lot of Bond stuff. My Richard Kiel book is around somewhere. That's what I'm looking for, trying to find it. Oh, here's another one that I have from the production designer Sid Kane, who signed his book for me. And this was like 2000 and something, I think. It was 2002. There you go, there's Sid. He did spell my name wrong. He spelled it EW, but I didn't tell him off because it's, it's Sid Kane. But so throughout the years, I have ventured through the Bond world, and it's iconic. It's iconic throughout the world, but it's also maybe a little bit more iconic to us Brits, I guess. So, Amazon, who knows? But I'm guessing the live chat's working, so that's quite good. Thank you to John Shelton. Do check out John Shelton's YouTube channel as well. I've often said, And I never want him to take it as an insult, but I always class him as an experimental filmmaker who makes weird and wonderful short films. And I mean that as a compliment, John. I do like what you do. So for those of you who are watching this on replay, if you look at the comments, you should see John's name. Click on his name, go over and have a nosy at his channel, check out some of his weird and wonderful short films. And John makes some more weird and wonderful short films because I always enjoy watching them. And John, do not give creative control over to Amazon MGM. John also makes a point that we would find it really weird if Toho Studios sold the rights to the Godzilla franchise, which he's a huge fan of. So I get it. It's just... But did we feel this weird when Disney bought Star Wars? Or Disney bought Lucasfilm, to be more exact. I don't know. Don't know. But I'm not happy with Amazon. So, you know, unless you want to hire me, they can hire me and John. John will make a Bond film. In fact, John do a weird experimental film where you do a Bond one. I don't know what, but something. So yeah, everybody let me know in the comments whether you're happy with this decision that has nothing to do with us. And I will respond to all the comments. So I hope, other than that crazy news, I hope that the day is treating you all well. I'm looking forward to springtime when the weather starts to warm up a little bit. It's been a really long arse winter. I am looking forward to podcasting with John Fouts in 4.5 hours. And we're going to chat about Blade Runner for a couple of hours. So I'm going to be very excited about that. But wishing you all the very best.